What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Side 11, and today is March the 22nd of 2022. Today is Tuesday, which is also Mars Day, the Martian Day. And today we're talking about what is your mind suggesting to you? Meaning, we are constantly living out our life throughout time, waking up and sleeping. But between those periods of you living out your life and you carrying out your duties and obligations and you going about your schedule, whether you're consciously or subconsciously going about it, just simply meaning that whether you're aware of what you're doing or not, your mind is still suggesting to you something. Now, what is this thing that your mind is suggesting to you? And is you aware of what your mind is suggesting to you in the first place? Because if your mind is suggesting to you a whole lot of garbage and you don't know how to recognize it, you will be unable to change yourself, and you will call that thing that fate. You will call that God did this to me. Society did this to me. No, you could change. But first we must understand, what is our mind suggesting to us? See, we are all forms of life forms on this fourth element that we call Earth right now, Gaia, Tiamat. And all of us as forms, there's forms of combustions, forms of energies, things forming within us through what we pay attention to, through what we direct our mind to in a period of time. So even certain dogs in America feel and think a certain way and act a certain way and behave a certain way based on their experience, how they grew up and what they did. But if you go to Africa, dogs there act different. You might get bit in your ass. Not to say that African dogs are wild, but it's just to say it's a different environment, therefore it would lead to different behaviors. Now, what has happened to people throughout time that has programmed them to think and feel and act and behave a certain way for them to be who they are? And if that environment is suggesting to you bullshit, and you are thought to accept this bullshit, and you are thought to be and act and be helpless, then that leads to what we call negative mind suggestion, which is basically your mind suggesting and telling you stuff that is related to reality back to you, relaying what you see in a negative light or a negative aspect, something that's unbeneficial to you. So eventually you learn to call this is what becomes evil to you. People that invade your space, money that you don't want to pay, it could be anything, it could be a divorce. So you know what I'm saying? But what leads to these outcomes? What leads to us not being able to see these things happening in front of us? Because if you have a wife right now, if you have a girlfriend, if you have a job, you should be able to see, am I bright in that environment or am I dimming down in that environment? And are the people that are in that environment for me, or are those people in that environment against me? See what I'm saying? But because people are being suggesting to themselves that they don't know any better, they need figures of authority, they need directions, they need the policeman to make sure that they are safe, they need things like that. So if your mind is suggesting to you that you are helpless, you are weak, you are incapable, you cannot do what you foresee yourself doing, then you are more likely to not start a business, not go about that thing that you need to do, whatever shape and whatever idea that you have. You see what I'm saying? But this negative auto suggestion is basically just a program that we run. Because what happens is that as we live out our life throughout time, we are programming the membranes, the neurons, which is our many selves, which is just our body, because your whole body is the temple of God. So you need to understand that as well. The whole body, the whole Bible, the whole Sun book. This is the temple of God. This is where everything happens. And when you understand what's going on here, you can write things like books. You can write music. You can write, because how many people make music about their sexual organs, about the 8th house area, about the Scorpio area, right? So things like that. So when you understand the self, you can relate the self to things. But what happens is that people want to try to disconnect us from ourselves and not make us aware of that as much as possible. So you end up going to a therapist, oh, why do I feel and think this way? Instead of just reprogramming yourself, because that's all it is. When you go to the military, They're going to take you through training programs for you to reprogram your physical limit, which you believe you can and can't do. And based on that, candidates get eliminated, and we put the people in the program that have the so-called, that are willing to generate that type of energy, willing to generate that type of bioenergy, to have that mentality of warlike, you know what I'm saying? That type of energy. So that's what we gotta understand, is that someone just took you and misdirected you from yourself. And now you are constantly misdirecting yourself by speaking the wrong things into yourself. So it goes so deep that you even use the wrong words, the wrong verbs, all types of things. Before you go to sleep, you probably go to sleep the wrong way. It's not even that there's a right or wrong way to it, but it's what you have on your mind before you go into these things. Because sleeping and waking up is important, because when you're sleeping, you're dreaming. And your dreams are related to what you're going to project in your reality. So likely whatever you experience as a repetitive thought or feeling, which you're constantly auto-suggesting to yourself, which your mind is constantly suggesting to you, which you're programmed your neurons to constantly mimic about, that's going to keep you in a hole or in a trap. So that's the thing. So become aware of what you're suggesting to yourself, because it's all a program. And man, it's freaking crazy, bro. It's crazy, because it is really all just a program. It's all really just like a psyop, basically, because it's all about just what you believe about yourself. And if you can really program yourself and believe it, and understand that you are allowed to let go of previous things, you don't have to suggest yourself the same negative bullshit that you always do, you will be straight. Because that's all it is. You have to just forgive yourself. And it's simple, but you have to be willing to let go. You have to be willing to go through those processes that you think you need a priest or a pastor to give you the rights of. Why are you selling your rights, your self-rights, to a motherfucking pastor or a priest or an ideology or a methodology or anything? Use observation systems and things like that to see what's within you, but never just be like adopting shit. Always understand stuff from your point of view, so you don't get lost in somebody else's bullshit. Because then you don't, little do you know that you're just selling your self rights away. What do you think happened to a lot of these artists, these politicians that are involved in this scheme, this life propaganda scheme? What they be doing right now? They all sold parts of themselves, and whether you're aware of it or not, you're always making a contract. You're always selling a part of yourself to something, whether it's here or whether it's in a fourth, fifth, sixth dimension. And that means lending a part of your body for an entity to use so you can manifest here. And you agreeing to use that type of energy. You see what I'm saying, man? That's why we gotta talk about this important stuff. We gotta talk about this important stuff a lot. But yeah, that's a little bit about auto-suggestion. And yeah, man, like the video, comment, subscribe. And I'm gonna see you all indefinitely on the next video.